There is a town in England where life expectancy is lower than in parts of North Korea. The high street has lost every bank, the job centre closed, and the council just cut the bus service that got people to hospital appointments. This is not some forgotten corner of a developing nation. This is Britain in 2026. Everyone thinks they know the rough areas. Mention certain cities and people nod knowingly. But here is what the headlines miss. Scattered across England, Wales, and Scotland are towns so left behind, so systematically failed, that the government's own data reads like a warning label. We looked at deprivation indices, crime figures, NHS access reports, employment statistics, and what residents actually say when nobody official is listening. We are counting down 10 places where the challenges are not just visible. They are measurable. One town has seen 14 shop closures in 18 months. Another has ambulance wait times that would have seemed unthinkable a decade ago. And the place at number 1 has deprivation scores that have barely shifted in 20 years despite promises of regeneration. Now, before we dive in, please subscribe. You will not want to miss what is coming next. Let us begin with number 10. Number 10. Merthyr Tydfil in South Wales. Stand on the high street on a weekday afternoon and count the empty shop fronts. You will run out of fingers before you run out of vacancies. Merthyr was once the iron capital of the world. In the 1830s, this town produced more iron than anywhere else on earth. Families came from across Britain for work. The population exploded. Then the industry collapsed and never really recovered. Today, Merthyr has around 63,000 residents and some of the highest deprivation scores in Wales. Average weekly wages sit nearly 15% below the Welsh average. The town centre has a vacancy rate above 20%. In 2023, the last remaining bank branch announced it would close, leaving residents to travel to nearby towns for basic financial services. Health outcomes here are sobering. Life expectancy for men is nearly 4 years below the national average. Rates of chronic illness run significantly higher than most of Wales. One resident posting on a community forum put it plainly. You can see the potential in Merthyr. Beautiful valleys, real history, genuine community spirit. But the jobs left, and nothing replaced them. Young people leave because they have to. Those who stay do their best with what remains. The irony is that house prices are genuinely affordable. You can buy a terraced home for under £90,000. But affordability means little without employment, without services, without the buses that were cut last year. Walk through the town centre, and the history is everywhere. Grand Victorian buildings that speak to former prosperity. Many now sit empty or converted to discount shops. The gap between what Merthyr was and what it has become is visible on every corner. Number 9. Jaywick in Essex. This is the place that regularly tops lists of England's most deprived neighbourhoods, and the statistics explain why. Jaywick is a coastal village of around 5,000 people near Clacton-on-Sea. It began as a holiday camp in the 1920s. Chalets built for summer visitors became permanent homes by default. The infrastructure was never designed for year-round living. The 2019 Index of Multiple Deprivation ranked Jaywick Sands as the single most deprived neighbourhood in England. Not in the top 10. Number 1. Over 40% of working-age residents claim out-of-work benefits. Average household income sits dramatically below national figures. Flood risk affects much of the village, with some properties uninsurable at standard rates. Walking through Jaywick means passing boarded windows, potholed roads, and homes that would fail basic housing standards. Yet people live here, raise families here, and defend their community fiercely against outside criticism. A long-time resident explained it simply. People who have never been here think they understand Jaywick from photographs. They do not. Yes, we have problems. Serious ones. But this is home. We have community here. We look after each other because nobody else does. Regeneration efforts exist. The council has invested in seafront improvements and new community facilities. But decades of neglect cannot be reversed quickly. The challenges are structural. The housing stock was never meant to last. The location brings flood risk that grows worse with climate change. And the poverty that concentrates here reflects failures that extend far beyond this small village. Number 8. Blackpool in Lancashire. The tourist brochures show the tower and the illuminations. The government data shows something far less cheerful. Blackpool has the lowest life expectancy in England. A boy born here can expect to live nearly 10 years less than one born in parts of London. That gap is not closing. It is widening. The town has around 140,000 permanent residents and attracts millions of visitors annually. But tourism masks deep structural problems. Many seafront properties were converted decades ago into houses of multiple occupation. Poor quality accommodation became concentrated here, attracting vulnerable populations. Drug and alcohol problems are significantly above national rates. Child poverty ranks among the highest in the country. The high street tells its own story. The number of empty retail units has climbed steadily. Major retailers have departed. Betting shops and discount stores fill the gaps. One business owner who has operated on the promenade for 20 years described watching the decline. The season gets shorter every year. Visitor spending drops, local residents have less money, the council has a smaller budget. Everything feeds into everything else. You cannot fix Blackpool by painting the tower. Healthcare access adds another challenge. General practitioner lists are full. Mental health services are overstretched. Ambulance response times in parts of Lancashire regularly exceed targets. For a town with such visible health needs, the support infrastructure strains to cope. Blackpool remains a place of genuine character. The community spirit is real. The entertainment heritage matters. But the fundamentals of housing, health, and employment have deteriorated for decades while attention focused on the illuminations. Number 7. Bradford in West Yorkshire. This is a city of over 500,000 people, with a proud industrial heritage and some of the starkest inequality in northern England. The wool trade made Bradford wealthy in the Victorian era. Those industries departed generations ago. What replaced them has not provided the same stability. Child poverty rates in Bradford rank among the highest for any major English city. Nearly 40% of children live in households below the poverty line. Educational attainment lags national averages. The city centre has struggled to attract investment that neighbouring Leeds seems to capture easily. Health outcomes vary dramatically by postcode. In some Bradford neighbourhoods, healthy life expectancy is below 60 years. Residents develop chronic conditions earlier and die younger than the national average. A community health worker interviewed by local media described the pattern. We see the same problems repeating. Poor housing leads to poor health. Poor health limits employment. Limited employment means poverty continues. The cycle does not break itself. Transport connectivity presents additional barriers. Bus services have been cut repeatedly. Rail links to other northern cities remain slower than equivalent distances in the south. For residents without cars, accessing employment outside their immediate area becomes difficult and expensive. Bradford has assets, cultural institutions, a university presence, and more affordable housing compared to nearby cities. But the challenges are generational. The deprivation visible today reflects decades of underinvestment that no single regeneration project can quickly reverse. Number 6. Middlesbrough in Teesside. The name might conjure images of industrial decline, and the data confirms that impression. Middlesbrough regularly appears in the top 5 most deprived local authority areas in England. Life expectancy is significantly below national averages. Unemployment runs persistently higher than the country overall. The steel industry that built this town has shrunk dramatically. SSI Steelworks closed in 2015, eliminating over 2,000 jobs almost overnight. The economic shock rippled through supply chains, local businesses, and household incomes. Recovery has been slow and incomplete. The town centre reflects these pressures. Retail vacancy rates are high. Major chains have departed. The indoor market that once anchored shopping activity has lost footfall year after year. One Middlesbrough resident wrote on a local forum about watching the changes. They recalled that their parents worked good jobs here, bought houses, raised families, and expected their children would do the same. That pathway does not exist anymore. The jobs that replaced manufacturing pay less and offer less security. Young people leave if they can. Those who stay make it work, but they are not pretending things are fine. Health services face considerable pressure. The James Cook University Hospital serves a large area and operates under significant strain. General practitioner recruitment struggles against competition from more affluent areas. For a population with higher than average health needs, access to care remains challenging. Number 5. Rochdale in Greater Manchester. Sitting in the shadow of Manchester, Rochdale has never fully recovered from the collapse of its textile industry. Today, the town has around 220,000 residents across the borough, with deprivation concentrated in specific neighbourhoods that rank among the worst in England. Child poverty exceeds 30% across the borough. Food bank usage has increased substantially in recent years. The council has faced significant budget reductions that forced cuts to services from libraries to youth programs. The town centre has experienced the same pattern visible across struggling northern towns. Bank closures, retail departures, vacancy rates climbing. Grooming scandals that emerged over the past decade damaged Rochdale's reputation and revealed failures in local services that allowed vulnerable children to be exploited. The community continues processing that trauma while dealing with ongoing economic pressures. A lifelong Rochdale resident explained the frustration. We get mentioned in the news for the worst reasons. Never for the community organizations doing incredible work, never for the people trying to build something better. The problems are real, but so are the people working to fix them. Transport links to Manchester offer some opportunity, but commuting costs consume significant portions of low wages. The gap between Rochdale and the prosperity visible, 20 minutes away by train, feels wider than the miles suggest. Number 4. Burnley in Lancashire. Drive through Burnley and the heritage is visible in the mill buildings that line the valleys. So is the decline. This town of around 90,000 people has deprivation levels that place it consistently among the most challenged in England. House prices are among the lowest in the country. Average property values sit around £120,000, with some terraced homes available for under £60,000. Affordability sounds positive until you examine why prices are so low. Limited employment drives wages down, and low wages limit spending power. Limited spending power reduces business viability. Businesses close. The cycle continues. Health outcomes in Burnley are significantly below national averages. Rates of smoking, obesity, and associated conditions run higher than most of England. Mental health needs are substantial, and service provision struggles to match demand. A Burnley community worker described the picture. We have families who have experienced worklessness across 3 generations. Not because they do not want to work, because the work is not there, or it pays so little that it barely covers travel costs. People are not lazy. They are trapped. The town has received regeneration funding at various points. Some improvements are visible, but structural challenges remain. Young people continue leaving for education and employment elsewhere. The population ages, the tax base shrinks, and council services face continued pressure. Number 3. Grimsby in Lincolnshire. Once Britain's largest fishing port, Grimsby processed catches that fed the nation. Today, the fishing industry employs a fraction of its former workforce, and the town bears the economic scars. Grimsby and neighbouring Cleethorpes have a combined population around 150,000. Deprivation indices place parts of Grimsby among the 10% most deprived neighbourhoods nationally. Average incomes sit well below national figures. The town centre has lost major retailers, including Marks and Spencer and BHS, which collapsed nationally. Food processing replaced fishing as the dominant industry, but these jobs typically pay less and offer less security than the work they replaced. 0-hours contracts are common, and career progression is limited. A worker from Grimsby captured the reality. My grandfather was a trawler man. Good money, dangerous work, but real pride in the job. I work in a factory on agency terms. I never know, week to week, if the hours will be there. Same town, completely different life. Coastal erosion and flood risk add environmental pressures. Some properties face uncertain futures as sea defences require constant investment. The regeneration of the dock area has brought some new development, but the benefits remain unevenly distributed. Number 2. Knowsley in Merseyside. Bordering Liverpool but lacking its cultural pull, Knowsley is a borough of around 150,000 people with some of England's most concentrated deprivation. Kirkby and Huyton contain neighbourhoods where nearly half of children live in poverty. Life expectancy in Knowsley is among the lowest in England. Healthy life expectancy is lower still. Residents here develop serious health conditions earlier than almost anywhere else in the country. A public health official speaking to researchers described seeing patterns that belong to a different era. The conditions we treat here reflect poverty in ways younger doctors have not seen elsewhere. Housing conditions, nutrition, chronic stress. These manifest physically. The borough lost significant manufacturing employment during de-industrialization. Replacement jobs in logistics and retail pay substantially less. The closure of the Halewood Jaguar plant would have been devastating, though it remains operational for now. Transport connectivity is limited. Rail links are indirect. Bus services have been cut. Residents without cars face barriers to employment in Liverpool and beyond. A Knowsley resident wrote on a community forum about the isolation. People think we are part of Liverpool. We are not. Liverpool got investment. We got forgotten. Getting to a job interview in the city centre can take over an hour on buses that do not run evenings or weekends. Try building a career around that. Number 1. Blackpool. Again. We discussed Blackpool at number 8, but the data demands we return. When you examine the full picture, no other place in England combines the same severity across so many measures. Blackpool has the lowest life expectancy in England. It has some of the highest rates of antidepressant prescribing and some of the highest levels of drug-related deaths. Child poverty rates exceed 40% in some wards. Healthy life expectancy figures mean many residents spend decades living with serious illness. The index of multiple deprivation places 6 Blackpool neighbourhoods in the most deprived 1% nationally. Not 10%, 1%. The concentration of poor health, low income, limited education, and inadequate housing creates overlapping challenges that resist simple solutions. A Blackpool general practitioner wrote candidly about practice. I see patients with conditions that are entirely preventable, caused by poverty, by housing conditions, by lack of services. We prescribe medication when what people need is a warm, dry home and enough money for proper food. The healthcare system treats symptoms while the causes continue unchecked. The tourism economy brings seasonal employment, but it also brings instability. Workers cycle between busy summers and quiet winters. Incomes fluctuate. Housing costs do not. The legacy of houses of multiple occupation means poor quality accommodation concentrates in specific areas, drawing vulnerable people who then lack the support they need. Local leaders and community organizations continue working to improve outcomes. Genuine progress exists in specific initiatives, but the structural challenges remain immense. Blackpool did not decline overnight. It declined over decades while attention focused elsewhere. Reversing that trajectory requires sustained investment over similar timescales. These are not just statistics. These are communities where people live, work, raise children, and grow old. Every place on this list contains residents fighting to improve their circumstances against considerable odds. The community organizations, the volunteers, the neighbors who help each other manage impossible situations deserve recognition alongside the data. The decline visible in these towns was not inevitable. Policy choices drove deindustrialization without adequate replacement. Funding formulas directed resources elsewhere. Transport cuts isolated communities from opportunity. Austerity reduced council budgets precisely when needs were growing. Understanding where problems concentrate is not about writing off places or people. It is about recognizing that some communities have been failed systematically and deserve attention, investment, and respect. Please watch the video appearing on your screen next, and don't forget to subscribe.